Give it up for day 227 of technical changes. I repeat, give it up for day 227 of technical changes. Yay. Nah, I kid. How you doing, everybody? It's me, Waddles, and welcome back to Snapshot Day, my dudes. Kicking things off with a banger change here. Inside of this smithing table, at last, the resin clump, it doesn't fit inside of this thing. Instead, the resin brick. I don't know if I'm fully vibing with this one. I liked the idea of painting the resin onto the armor, how it kind of felt before with this resin clump. I heard somebody else say that one, and I thought that was a pretty genius take. But at least at last, this armor trimming with the resin is back. If you can remember, in last week's snapshot, they changed it, except they didn't really change it. They actually kind of just removed it. Look at how fire this armor trim looks with the resin, with the orange, the flow. Oh, it's beautiful. Now, quite interestingly, today's snapshot, we still don't have an official name for this winter drop update, but assuming it still releases at the end of the year, we could only have like a small handful of snapshots left. This all really makes me wonder and desperately hope that more is coming inside of this update still, even if it's small. Like let's not lose sight of quality control and attention to detail here just because we're doing drop updates. So for example, this brand new moss, why can't this one just literally do the same thing? What about the other hanging moss? Like some green hanging moss, please? Yes, please. I beg. Technical changes. Inside of this week's snapshot, we have big focus on brand new item models even more again. Now, these different item models here, we have so many different types of models that can now be customized. For example, head models, you can go ahead and make them real fancy. Standing signs, which is like your classic sign. And then the hanging sign, which is like, you know, the hanging sign. Now, related to all of those changes with these new model stuff being able to customize it really cool, we've actually got some subtle changes with some of these things. For example, the decorated pot, check this out. While I'm moving around on this pot like full sprinting, I don't know how often you do this in your world, but you could see subtle particle effects popping up. Those tiny little particles have been missing since this thing's introduction. Like, oh god, it's been way over a year now. These things still feel so new. Anyways, the signs right here too. We have a change with these signs. When I start breaking these signs, look at those particles that are popping up. And those particles, they're going to pop up as well when I break these other blocks. I believe these particles were just straight up missing before. They weren't in the game, at least since like Minecraft 1.14, if the thing was in the game since 1.14. The hanging sign as well. Those particles right there, look at that. We got brand new breaking particles. It's kind of cool. It's nice. It's attention to detail. Kind of just like what should happen with this moss. Like, let's go. Technical changes. Let's move on. In last week's snapshot, I learned a new word, a Boolean. It's kind of like true or false. All right, well, saying I learned it, maybe that's an overstatement. I'm working on it. We have the removal of a couple of Boolean properties, one of them having to do with the holiday stuff. It has been replaced with local time. So that'll mean with this local time property, if you're setting up something special that should only happen at a certain time, maybe a certain day is around the world, well, you'll be able to heavily customize everything, like all the way down to like time zone inside of the day, hour, minute, second, for whatever kind of special thing you're trying to do. A great example of this special thing you're trying to do is what happens around Christmas, the holiday thing, where like the chests basically turn into present boxes. It's kind of beautiful. Well, yeah, you could use this property to pull off something pretty similar. Back to the custom models for a second, because I feel like I didn't really cover it all. With the head, we've got a brand new texture field where you can put your own texture on a head block. And to my mind, what that means inside of the game is something like, I'm sure you've seen it maybe on Hermitcraft or wherever, where you have like custom head things that are like maybe a smaller version of a block or something like that. Well, yeah, you could do all of that. Standing sign special model. You're gonna have kind of like almost two different categories. You have the wood type, and then you have the top texture, whatever you want to do with that. The hanging sign, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar. Instead of a bottom like hanging texture, you have like that pull texture, and then you have the texture for the sign as well. Boom. Moving back over to Boolean. Remove your shift down Boolean property, replace it with extended view. So the extended view Boolean property is all about when you're like, say, shifting or changing your view or something like that. We also have a keybind down a Boolean property that has been added as well, kind of relating to the other one. Just keep in mind that though in the minute, especially if you're not like a data pack creator, some of this technical stuff might just not sound the most spicy, but I believe all of this stuff is still a continuation of what Agnes said, not at this year's Minecraft Live, but the one prior to it, where they're working on making it faster to make future updates. Like this time Boolean property, for example, this makes me wonder if maybe in the future, Mojang will be rolling out more maybe limited time events that will happen and kind of affect your world somehow. Whether that's maybe changing the look of the red mushroom to like a blue dots or something, I don't know. But either way, it's all really cool, and oh my Yeah, this is a crazy cave with some of the glitchiest generation that I've seen in a hot minute. Now I want to take a quick second to remind you to subscribe, remind you to tap like button, and let you know that lately on stream on this channel right here, I've been doing a little bit of hardcore Minecraft, the goal 100 days inside of the Pale Garden biome. It's going pretty good so far, and I mean, if it sounds cool to you, I'd love for you to swing by. I don't really have a set streaming schedule right now, which I know isn't the best, but usually it's Fridays at around 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'm still working on trying to figure out when's the best time to stream, how I could stream more, and all that stuff. Kind of related to the resin change that we talked about earlier, only in the sense that this one is about resin. Listen to the sounds. So, according to the changelog, the sounds here have been made a little bit softer. I don't know if that's talking about, like, the volume level or just, like, the proper sound itself, but it sounds squishy, and I mean, this one does sound soft. Maybe the bricks? I don't know if it relates to the bricks or just the block, but the sound it's been made softer. Is that a dinosaur? Whoa, no way. We've also got ourselves a couple of gigantic, amazing improvements when it comes to resin. So resin, you know how it goes. You can place that on any block in the game pretty much. Well, as long as that block has a full solid face on it. If it doesn't have a solid face, you won't be able to place it. But if it's like a crazy block, even like glass, yeah, why not? One thing that I'd like to test here, let's say we had glow like in there. Can I put yes, but no. Ooh, now that I think about it, what happens on survival if I just... yeah, it just deletes it. Nice, that's cool. So the resin clump, it can now be placed on any full face of a neighboring block. Now you'll have to catch me where I'm lacking here. I feel like that was the case before. Maybe I'm crazy. But yeah, so you could do like a situation like this where you kind of have a box of resin or whatever. It's kind of cool looking. But maybe the more beautiful one here is, oh my god, resin. We can waterlog this stuff now. This is beautiful. This block right here, like being able to place it on anything, I mean, it's going to be amazing for builders. And now you can actually put it under the water too and add to like cool effects. Maybe you want some small rocks sitting at the bottom of your river. Maybe you're making a custom ore for your world or something. Wow, that's amazing. And remember that in the world of customizability, if you are a data pack creator, you could take this resin item, retexture it, make it be something else, I don't know. And I mean, it has waterlog support. I am personally still in awe over this edition of resin. This is some of the most cool stuff that Mojang has added in a minute, and it's just amazing. I think I might marry it. Changelog, technical stuff, resource pack version 45, it's been bumped up again. All blocks of previously rendered only block entities, so things like banners, heads, whatever, will now also render normal block models over. This is going to be just like how the bell and enchantment table behaves, among other things. Terrible, sad news. We've got a wither skeleton and nerve inside of this week's snapshot. So in the last snapshot, card on screen right now to that snapshot, we talked all about brand new mob weapon prioritization. Well, unfortunately, the wither skeleton was included previously because it was kind of like, you know, a skeleton, which means all you had to do is drop a bow, and every single time, every single wither skeleton would just decide to pick up the bow because, hey, they prefer bows over swords, right? Well, wrong. Unfortunately, that has been discovered by the developers as well as the community, and now wither skeletons will literally never pick up a bow in a survival Minecraft. It doesn't matter, like, anything at all. It's never going to happen, so... yeah, that's sad. I don't know about you, but I feel like maybe, like, say, on hard difficulty, they should totally make it so sometimes the wither skeleton will spawn with a bow, even if it's really rare. That would definitely up the challenge a little bit in the nether fortress, and, like, maybe you second guess just farming this guy evilly. The creaking. So let's say I had a creaking spawned inside of my world, and maybe this is a creative mode creaking. Maybe this is like a properly naturally birthed, straight fresh out of the crack in between this log. Now let's say I paused the game and I left my world. When I left my world and I jumped back in, that creaking wouldn't persist before. Now, when I jump back into my world, well, voila, the creaking has popped back in exactly where it was before. This is great, especially if you're like a farmer or something, and maybe you design some kind of cool farm with the creaking, but unfortunately, every single time you leave your world, that farm would break. Hopefully, not anymore. Oh, now speaking of the creaking heart, we've got some other amazing buffs that have happened to this thing. We gotta address them. So check this out. If I place this down in my world right there, and then I try and mine it now. Oh, I don't know if you can tell right there, but that thing mines a whole lot slower. In fact, twice as slow as it did in the last snapshot. And look at that. When I break a creaking heart inside of my world, if it's a naturally generated one, I'll get experience in resin. If it's one that I place down myself, I will get a little bit of resin here, which is pretty crazy. Now, right here, I've got myself a beautiful enchanted Fortune 3 Efficiency 5 wonderfully named axe. The question here is, Fortune 3, is it currently working on this version of the game? Ooh, 5 resin. I think it's going to be working. I did a little bit of testing before this snapshot, and it seems to be a crazy range. Like, maybe it's kind of broken, but I've not once picked up any number of 5 Creaking Heart. At least I don't, unless I got crazy lucky that one time. I haven't picked up a 5 without a Fortune. So Fortune axes, they now kind of actually have a point. Maybe you have that Fortune 3 tree axe. Well, I guess you could, like, farm resin this way. Maybe it's just smarter to, you know, make a resin farm, but I don't know. You do you, man. Do whatever you want. As long as you're subscribed, I don't care. Now, this change with the Creaking Heart and the mining speed, it also affects the blast resistance as well. I'm pretty sure these are just going to be blown to bits because it's right next to TNT, but you know, maybe not all the way or whatever. They're a little bit more blast resistant too. And today, where we'll go ahead and wrap things up with is maybe the bounciest, most beautiful change of all time. I still think this poor buddy needs like maybe a more cute, adorable, modern model, but the rabbit, gigantic bug fix that has been in the game since like 2019, maybe even longer. These guys had a lot of problem with pathfinding on the corners of blocks. We can kind of force this to happen if I start charging towards the rabbits. Sometimes they would end up like getting stuck on a block, and you know, basically you'd be able to walk up to them, chow them, do whatever you were trying to do. Well, alas, no longer, because rabbit pathfinding has been improved inside of this snapshot. They will no longer, they should never get stuck on the corner of a block again, which means it's going to be a whole lot harder to catch a rabbit now in this snapshot. So, that's tragic. That was not my fault, okay? A community idea I saw somewhere, somebody said that they should make the killer rabbit to spawn rarely inside of the Pale Garden biome, and come on, I am all here for it. Let's make this update a little bit more spicy. We're running out of time, devs. Come on, you're losing a hype. Anyways, amazing update, the Creaking update, this snapshot, that is just about it for it. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Tap the like button, subscribe on the end card, a playlist. If you didn't hear about a potential event that might be coming next month, then check out yesterday's video next, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.